Hi everyone, this is Crystal, and today I'm working on week 21 in my Project Life album for 2020. I have my photos printed here, ready to go. I have a few more photos this week than the last couple weeks. And for products, I am using the Cravings kit from Citrus Twist Kit. We are just about at the end of the month, about to get the new kit in the mail, so I thought I would go ahead and try and use some of this kit up and see what I can do with it. So I'm going to go ahead and put you on fast forward and get started. So as usual, I'm going to start by just laying out my photos where I think I want them. And you can see I have quite a few photos this week. In reality, most of these were taken on the same day, but that is just the way it goes sometimes. So I'm just going to roll with it. So once I have them where I think I want to keep them, I'm going to go through the cards I have left. I only have a couple 3x4 cards left, and luckily they both worked well with this spread. So I'm going to use those and then use one of the 4x6 cards that I hadn't already used. I briefly thought about cutting down that bookmark, but I decided to keep the yellow stripe card. It's really hard to see on video, but it's kind of a crosshatch pattern in that same yellow color as the other two cards. So I'm going to start now by going through the ephemera that I have. This is the ephemera from the Life Crafted kit, as well as all of the cut-aparts and the digital tags, and pretty much everything is just in this little bin. And I do have multiples of some of these things as well. I did print them more than once this month. So there's a lot to go through. This does take me a little bit of time. I start by just kind of plopping things down where I think they might work. I'm going to do a lot of editing of these things as I move forward. I hadn't really decided on a color scheme or really an embellishment theme or anything really at this point. It wasn't until I found the flowers in this set about right here, I think, that I found those gorgeous flower die cuts that were in this kit, and I hadn't used any of them yet. I'd kind of been hoarding them, and I thought I need to just get them used. I need to get them onto this spread and out of my stash, or I will just keep them forever. So I'm going to use all of them pretty much, I think, except for a couple of leaves on this spread, and I'm going to kind of spread them around so that they appear in a few spots, just again to help them make sense on the page. So then I also grabbed that label that has flowers printed on it, again because I'm kind of going with a theme here. So I eventually decide to pull off the other things that don't really work with the colors of the flowers. So those kind of more red embellishments, I'm going to take those off and save those for another layout, and I'll take off that need this so much banner piece too. And I did find a little lemon wedge that works really well, both with the colors of the flowers and the colors of the cards that I'm using, and also with my photo. It's a photo of a drink with, it's actually a lime wedge, but I'm not going to be that picky, so I'm going to go ahead and use that lemon wedge on that photo and take away some of the other bits and pieces I've pulled out here in just a second. So I think I've gone through the whole thing now. Now it's time to look at what I have and figure out what needs to stay and what needs to go. I'm just checking the other embellishments so that I have a better idea of what else I have to pull from. And then I'm going to pull off those red bits because they just didn't work. And I think the colors look so much better once I have those off the page. And then I can kind of play around with what's left and get it configured in a way that I like it. The little lemon wedge was a little bit big for this spot, but my photo was pretty small for the card, so I started printing my square photos a bit smaller than I had been, and that gives me a little bit more space to play on the card, to add a couple lines of journaling if I want to, or to add some larger embellishments like I do this week. So I have everything pretty much where I want it. I do need one more label for one of the photos there in the center. Two more labels. I needed a label for that photo that I just added one to, and then the other kind of outdoor 3x4 photo there in the center. I'm going to need a label for that as well, which I will get here in just a second. You may have noticed the label that I just added there to that photo was partially cut off, and that's because I had tried to do print and cut with these cut apart sheets for the first time this month, and it was a bit of a learning curve, so I had a couple failed attempts before I finally got it to work. But instead of throwing those away, I just kept them in my stash because I tend to cut off the ends of a lot of the labels I use anyway, so I thought there's no reason to just toss that out. I could totally still use that. Okay, so this is pretty much how the spread is going to look. I'm going to shift just a couple things, but this is pretty much it. So I'm going to start working on my title card. I am going to use the alphas that came in the kit, even though they're pink and there really isn't any other pink on this spread. I still really wanted to use those, and I thought that they were soft enough that they wouldn't stand out and would just kind of blend into the rest of the colors. So I'm going to spell out week 21, and I do end up shifting things over so that they kind of hug that line between the yellow and the white on this card. So I was just checking there to make sure that the pink wouldn't be a distraction, but it totally just blends in. So going ahead with it, moving things over so that the week and 21 kind of straddle that line on the card, and then I'm going to create a cluster with those large florals that are just above the card there, and then I'll stamp my dates in the pre-printed label that's on this card. I just wanted to play around with this cluster just to get it, you know, just right on the card. And once I had it where I liked it, I'm going to start gluing from the top down. So I'm going to take that little yellow flower and glue it to the one beneath it, and then I'll take that one and kind of glue it to the other little pieces, and then I can pick up that whole thing and glue the whole thing down to the card where it is. And then the only thing I really have to tuck in there is that other leaf piece, and that's not difficult to just stick right back where I had it before. Okay, so I just need to add my date stamp now, and I'm using my Heidi Swap date stamp. It has a cursive or handwritten month on it, so it takes up a bit more space, and that label is so wide. I wanted it, I didn't want it to feel like the date was just floating in the center. So I grabbed this date stamp for this week, and I'm doing the full date for both the beginning and ending dates of this week, again, just to fill up that space. And then I will pull out the puffy stickers and add a little puffy heart to the center just to fill in the space between the two dates. And I'm going to also add a staple to that puffy sticker because I just can't help myself when I use a puffy sticker. I love to add a little staple. Okay, so I'm going to move on now to the next photo on this spread, and I just have a little die cut ticket from the digital tags. I believe this was from the digital tags, and I'm just going to write just a couple little lines on this. Nothing, not a lot of journaling. There is a spot for a date, but I didn't have the date on the back of this photo, and I'd have to look at my phone to find the date, but I film with my phone, so I will do that off camera. Actually, I don't do it before I took the photos. I totally forgot, so I will go back and do that when I'm done with this voiceover. Okay, so that's really it for that one. I'm going to add this little floral cluster to the center of this card here. I don't end up adding a lot of journaling to this spread in general. You're going to see me write a few lines of journaling on this label I'm about to add to the photo at the bottom here, but I totally mess it up, and it looks awful, so I end up covering it up. But I leave it here for a few minutes just to think about it. I had written that I took this photo of the sky by our kind of the university that is in the town that we live in has like a farm just outside of town that I run past when I run out to our nature park. And the sky was just absolutely gorgeous, and the picture, of course, didn't do it justice, but I took a picture of it, and I just wrote that there was a gorgeous sky on my way back from the nature park, but I messed it up, so I'm going to end up covering it, and I think it's pretty obvious what we're looking at anyway, so I don't really think that the journaling is too necessary here. I did try to sneak in one of those leaves on that card, but I just couldn't make it work, so I'm going to set those aside and move on to the next photo here. I'm just doing a little cluster of a tag and a label and a flower, and then I will add a little sticker to that. I'm not even going to do any journaling here. I just wasn't really in the mood for long journaling this week, and there really wasn't much of a story to tell. It was mostly of my run and some outdoor time afterwards, and then the newspaper clipping is self-explanatory. So I just kind of let the pictures speak for themselves this week, which is totally fine. I don't feel like I have to do a ton of journaling every week, so totally okay with that. So I'm just creating that little cluster that I had already talked about doing on this photo, and I'm going to adhere it with another little staple. And this one, again, I'm keeping super simple. I do add just a few handwritten lines of journaling to this label, and I add a sticker to the top of it to kind of tie in the other sticker on the page, and that's going to be it. I will go back and add a staple to the top of that sticker, but otherwise I'm keeping it super, super simple. So this page came together really quickly. I've barely sped this video up, you may have noticed, because it just didn't take me very long. Once I had decided that I wanted to use these florals, then it was really simple to just throw the rest of it together. It kind of made itself once I made that decision, because all I had to do then was pick out all the things that matched those florals and work with those. So I am using a slightly different color here on the newspaper photo. I didn't want it to appear too colorful. It was some bad news in our local newspaper about the number of cases in our county, so I wanted to keep that a bit more somber. And I just added a puffy sticker, and then I'll go back with a small stamp there here in just a second. I thought maybe I could find a phrase sticker or a tiny word sticker, but none of them really worked for what was going on in the photo. But I did find one for this other photo, so I'm going to go ahead and stick that down to the label that I cut out earlier. And I realized that I had not done a good job of trimming that photo, so I needed to pull out my trimmer and make sure that that was trimmed a bit better. And then I just added a little floral piece there, and then that's going to be it for that one as well. So like I said, keeping it super simple this week. But even though it's super simple, I really, really like the way that it turned out. I did think about adding a puffy sticker there, but it was just too big for the spot that I have, so I'm going to leave it the way it is. And I'm still thinking about that label that I messed up my journaling on and what I can use to cover that. I will end up finding a chipboard piece here in just a second, and another one of those phrase stickers to kind of cover up what I wrote. And even though it doesn't say the exact story that I wrote, I feel like it captures the essence of what I was why I took the photo and what I was feeling that day. So I feel like it worked out just fine. Okay, so I think the only things I have left to do are stamp a little phrase in that label, and then I do go back and add some more staples here and there just to finish things off. But otherwise, that is it for this spread. So this kit is sold out. You can't get it anymore, unfortunately. But I will leave links below to all of the digital elements that are available. So a lot of the elements here you can get digitally in the Citrus Twist Kit shop. So I'll be sure to leave those links below. And I would strongly recommend that if you haven't already, that you subscribe to Citrus Twist, because they sell out super quick. At least they have been recently. And I've never been disappointed in a kit that I've received from them. So if you like these products and want to get them in the future, then the best way to do that is to subscribe. Okay, so there are some photos coming up so you can see all the little details in this spread. If you have any questions about anything I've done or anything I've used, feel free to leave them in the comments below, and I will be sure to get back to you as soon as I can. Otherwise, thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all back here very soon.